Thank you. Oh, thank you. Welcome back. We're on the beautiful island of Boracay. We're hanging out in tropical paradise today. And today we're gonna also talk about what the difference between driving in the roads in America versus driving on the roads in the Philippines. There's a big difference. So we're gonna talk about it right now. But first, let's have a coconut break. We're here in the coconut trees and we're gonna have a drink. Coconut in paradise. So let's talk more about the roads in America versus the roads in the Philippines. As some of you may know, transportation in America is so much different than transportation in the Philippines. America has really a great transportation system. They have freeways, lots of roads, very beautiful. And it's just gorgeous the way that they do the transportation system. They have many freeways. Where I come from in Orange County, there's about 20 freeways. They're all connecting, zigzagging each other, and it's quite impressive. However, the Philippines is so much different than America in many ways. One of them is there's 7,000 islands. In America, there's just one big landmass. And in the Philippines, there's so many islands and stuff. So the roads are gonna be a lot different than they are in America. The roads in the Philippines are usually single lane highways, much more simple, less complex. There's really no freeways unless you go to the big city like Manila, but there's really no major freeways, very few, and it's just a simple driving compared to the US. And in America, everyone seems to own their own car. Everybody has a car. And if you're in America and you don't have a car, you really need that one. There is public transportation in America, but it's usually for like the poor people or the people that can't afford cars. And the transportation system doesn't really take you very far. It takes you just to limited places. So if you're in America and you don't have a car, you're really in a lot of trouble. And in the Philippines, it's quite the opposite. Everyone uses public transportation, the bus, the van. Lots of people drive on the public transportation system. And it's really good. And the roads are more simple. They're pretty much point A to point B. So when the bus leaves, you know it's gonna take you there. In America, there's so many different directions. But in the Philippines, there's typically one way to go. And the buses go there. And in America, like we mentioned, most people, they drive cars. And very few people drive the motorcycles. Why? Because if you drive a motorcycle in America, they consider it a death wish. But in the Philippines, driving a motorcycle is common. It's the way it's done here in the Philippines. And lots of people drive motorcycles. A lot of people that don't know how to drive a motorcycle, they can't drive it. But most of the people, they have motorcycles, and there's people with cars and other forms of transportation. But driving a motorcycle in the Philippines is really no big deal. And in America, the roads are mostly very wide and they're very big, so it's really nice. And if you're driving on the road in America, it's very rare that you see animals running out into the street. However, in the Philippines, it's quite the opposite. The roads are more narrow, and there's also lots of dogs that run out in the street, sometimes cats. But when the dogs run out in the street, it's very fast, so you'll have like 1 second or 2 seconds to react. And if you're going really fast, it's really impossible to miss the dog. Sad to say, I've run over like 5 or 6 dogs in the Philippines at riding, and it's really hard. You're going fast, and then they run right underneath your tire. And if you move the bike, you actually crash yourself. So you have a choice. Do you want to die, or do you want to hold on tight, and then you're gonna run the dog over, but you're gonna save your life. So I chose to save my life, and then the dog got run over. One time I was riding on my motorcycle in Antique with my old girlfriend, and we were going really fast down the road, like 80 or 90, just cruising down the straight road, really going fast. And then suddenly the dogs were playing, and there's a hill, and the dogs come running up the hill and ran right in front of the tire. So I had no choice, but I just held on, and my motorcycle had about 11-inch clearance, and it ran over the dog. I held on real tight. I had no choice. You have like 1 second. So you have a choice to move and crash or stay strong and live. So I stayed strong, and I went through the dog. And then I didn't want to look at the dog because, you know, it was a big dog, and we were going fast, like 80 or 90. And my ex-girlfriend, she was on the back of me, And she looked at the dog and she's like, oh my gosh, the dog's bleeding. Yeah, of course it's bleeding. And I said, stop, don't look at the dog, look straight ahead, because I never look at the dog because I know that the dog was in some serious trouble. But we ran over that dog, we had no choice. Also, in the Philippines, they have this motorcycle with this box attached to it. They call it a tricycle. A tricycle. Very funny name. And these guys, lots of people are tricycle drivers in the Philippines. Usually younger guys, but sometimes older guys too. And they think they're really cool. But if you're in America and you drive a tricycle, you're like a little baby. Gaga, goo goo, gaga. You're riding that tricycle. I had my tricycle at the age of 1 year old. So if you're a 1-year-old in America, you ride a tricycle. And tricycle drivers in the Philippines are really dangerous. They're really dangerous. They think they're kings of the road. And so what they do is they'll stop and then they'll suddenly make a U-turn right in front of you. And if you're passing them, they'll run you over and you'll crash. There's been several people I heard stories about, foreigners too, that died because the drivers just drive however. They turn however. And they're very dangerous if you're a tricycle driver. Stay away! When I'm driving in the Philippines and I see like a tricycle driver in front of me, it's red alert. I'm very nervous and I'm watching that guy like a hawk. So when I see a tricycle driver, I try to stay clear of that guy. I try to pass him and get away because I never trust who? A tricycle driver. You would think that the road system in America is so much safer because it's really so much better and it's so much wider. It's more safe, really. But in America, there's lots of crashes and there's lots of deaths on the road. So it's kind of amazing to me that they have such a beautiful road system. It seems so safe, yet it's so dangerous. But no matter where you drive in the world, the rules all stay the same. You must be careful, you must watch, and you must be a defensive driver. So the rules throughout anywhere in the world is pretty much the same, or you're gonna crash. And in America, there's so many police. There's police everywhere. When I lived in America, there's a police every city, every 5 minutes, just all over the place. There's police doing radar guns, watching for illegal U-turns, everything, and they're giving tickets. They have to meet a quota, so they're really hunting for those tickets, and they're really watching for violations. But in the Philippines, it's quite the opposite. There's no police giving tickets like that. It's like the Wild West. It's really wild. I like that one. And there's no speed limit. There's no laws, pretty much. It's lawless. You can ride as fast as you want. You can do wheelies wherever you want. It's a wild country. And there's no drunk driving. I don't personally drink, but there's no drunk driving. There's no DUIs in the Philippines. So if you're a drinker, you come to the Philippines and you don't get any DUIs. But I don't have that problem because I'm not really drinking. But it's just a lawless country as far as the laws, as far as driving. You could drive as fast as you want. There's no radars. There's no police watching for illegal turns. It's just a fun, wild place. Woo! In America, you have to pay a monthly fee for your insurance. If you don't pay your monthly fee, you can't drive. You can't register your vehicle. That's the way it is. You gotta pay. And it's expensive, right? You know that one. But in the Philippines, you only pay one insurance once a year. It's only like 700 pesos or $15. You pay at registration, it's over. There's no monthly fees and registration for the insurance. You just pay one time and that's it. Also in the Philippines, they have funeral processions on the road. Big funeral processions. The more popular you are, the bigger funeral processions you have. And sometimes you have like 100 people walking around the street. They're playing bands, there's bands playing, it's really wild. But in America, they usually drive cars, they're driving around, and there's lots of people. They drive slow. There's a motorcycle police, they stop the traffic, but everyone drives their own car. Nobody walks in the street in America. There you have it, transportation system in America versus the transportation system in the Philippines. It's so different. Everything is completely opposite. And every country has their own positive and negative. But it's really, really a different system in both countries. But no matter where you drive, the rules all apply the same. You must be alert, you must keep your eyes on the road, and and you must always drive safe.